Welcome back to Daytime Toronto on our very spooky set. Now, as we all get settled into Halloween and enjoy the last hurrah of it, tomorrow something very special happens. Movember begins, and that just means a lot of really funky mustaches on a lot of great dudes, but it means something more special than that. Here to discuss that with us, we have oncologist Dr. Andrew Loblaw here today. So great to see you.
Nice to see you.
And while you're not dressed up, I do enjoy the festive tie that you have on.
Well, you know, you got to look a little bit sharp.
And I have to ask, because your Movember mustache hasn't begun, so tomorrow's the official kickoff date, I'm sure, for the stubble, right?
Yeah, I got the clean shave this morning. I got out the 5-blade razor, and my wife will have to live with it for the next 30 days.
Yeah, you gave me a really great term, Most Sisters.
Yeah.
And that's women who support, and they don't say, shave that thing off.
Exactly. Some of the women out there don't like the mustache and how it tickles, so they have to sort of support their man as he grows the mustache or whatever it is, the handlebars.
So we have to have you back on November 30th, obviously, to see your before and after.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't know as much.
And as well, too, because we have so much to discuss. I mean, this survey that was done offered up a whole new wealth of information. I also actually didn't know that many Canadians, 23,000 and more per year, are diagnosed.
Yeah, exactly.
Making this the leading cancer for men.
Yeah, it's the #1 cancer of men. The good news is that most of the guys that I can see in my clinic, I actually can cure. So more than 90%. You know, 10, 15 years ago, it was only 50%. So that's a good news story in itself. What we're really talking about today, though, is how men, if they don't get cured with their primary treatment, there's new hope because there's a whole bunch of new drugs coming down the pipe. And a lot of men suffer with quality of life issues as they're going into that advanced cancer state. But we have new hope. So Christmas is coming early.
Yeah, because even though the survival rate is extremely uplifting, I think you said 1 in 30, there are a lot of people, over 70%, who do have effects on their daily lives.
Absolutely.
So are these treatments going to help to ease some of that pain?
Yeah, absolutely. So it will depend on whether a patient's been diagnosed early. You know, obviously that is only about, most of the guys in that situation feel very good about their lives, but as the cancer advances, then it has a big impact on what they like to do, their sense of self, their ability to socialize, even just going to daily activity like going to the washroom is highly affected by the cancer. And the good news is that the new treatments that are coming out can help reverse those or prevent those things from happening.
Now, actually, I watched the video, which is on your website, which is really informative and great. And it talked about some of the things that we tend to take for granted: the loss of muscles in your arm, the loss of ability to go to the bathroom, a loss of masculinity as well, too. Yeah. Now, what can we do as people who are watching somebody go through this? Can we steer them somewhere? Should they be going to a website for help?
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing is if you ask people, you know, do you wish there's actually better treatments out there? Most of them are not aware there's actually good drugs, and that's true of the medical community as well. So the first thing we like to do is get that message out. There's actually a lot of new treatments. For example, there's 6 new treatments that have improvements on quality of life and survival in that advanced cancer patient population. But you got to know about it. You got to know to ask. So talk to your doctor and get referred into an oncologist. At least have a discussion. The other thing we can do in terms of just people, in terms of supporting those who are going through the situation, is just help them understand them, hug them, and support men's health through Movember.
Now, I was actually shocked to find that there's 70% of people are not really satisfied with the treatment that they have gotten or wish there was other options for them. Yeah. Why don't they know about these new treatments that are happening?
Part of it is that, you know, if you think about the patients that are first diagnosed, part of it is that there's just so many options out there. For example, there's like 6 different types of radiation treatment. I'm a radiation specialist. And so unless you come to see one of us, oftentimes you don't hear about the new latest and greatest. It's kind of like the latest iPhone. And then in terms of when the cancer comes back, a lot of times doctors who were trained a couple of years ago or 10 or 20 years ago, these drugs weren't available. So they don't know about them. And they have the sense that, oh, chemotherapy is very bad, and people just lose their hair and they feel very sick and they end up dying. But that's not true of the chemotherapy today, and a lot of the treatments actually are by mouth. So men can have a normal life, they can keep hanging out with their family, they can go on the Halloween parties and get ready for Christmas. And so it really is giving them a new lease on life, so to speak.
That sounds fantastic. Now, the survey that was done, there's a lot of great findings in it. What do you guys take from that in terms of moving forward for a brighter, even brighter future for prostate cancer survivors?
Yeah, so the first thing I think we need to just understand is that how many people were affected in terms of quality of life. I think we didn't really get a good sense of that. And so I think this survey and Movember in itself is really about embracing those guys who are going through and helping them understand that we're there for them. Because a lot of men, you know, are pretty stoic and silent, and they want to suffer in a dark corner like the man cave or something like that. But we need to sort of actually bring them out and understand what they're actually going through.
Fantastic.
So this is the first step.
Okay, so I want to actually talk about that. If we were to go through a step-by-step, I mean, in the video it talked about the devastation you experience when you are diagnosed, even though that it is the #1 cancer for men in Canada. So you should almost kind of expect, I mean, 1 in 6, but a guy said, you never expect to be that one. When you hear you have cancer, all you hear is 1 in 1.
Yeah.
So what is the first thing you should do after diagnosis?
So the first thing when you're first diagnosed is figure out kind of where you are, like, you know, how advanced the cancer is, if it's early, if it's aggressive. And, you know, there's two main treatment options. There's surgery and radiation treatment. And what we're trying to encourage people to do is get opinions from both specialists. So you know the options in front of you. It's kind of like if you're going to go out and buy a new car. You're not just going to drive one car and then sign the lease. You're actually going to drive a few, kick a few tires. You're going to read the consumer reports and see how they stack up against one another. We want to find the one that's good for you. And when you find the treatment that's good for you, obviously you have to trust the person you're going to be working with. I
love your positive comparisons. We got iPhones, we got cars, all things that men like, you know, tech and cars. So it doesn't sound like this big horrific experience. No. And what's great about that is that many of the people who are survivors who have lived with it discuss that their overall feeling of jubilance or excitedness towards life doesn't decrease. So these are people who are still excited to live, but have a few challenges along the way.
For sure, and then we're here to help them with that, exactly. So it's a real privilege for me to walk and work with these people as they go through. The average life expectancy of a guy diagnosed with prostate cancer is actually the good news story. It's actually 17 years. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they have to go through multiple treatments along the way, but it's really changed compared to what it was before. So I'm really encouraged as an oncologist and a researcher to work in this field. It's fantastic. Great news stories.
Yeah, this is a fantastic month. It's so much fun. And every single year it seems more and more people are getting involved. How many people grow mustaches? Do you guys have a stat on that?
It was like over 1 million people, I think, in Canada. I think about how many people in Canada there are together is like 36 million, and we are the #2 fundraiser in the world.
Wow.
For Movember, so it's fantastic.
Congratulations, you guys are doing some spectacular work, and I'm so excited. I might actually grow a mustache myself.
No, don't do that. Just support the guy who does.
Okay. For more information, you have to go to survivornet.ca. As I mentioned, there's an extremely uplifting video on there, more information on the survey, and of course, as mentioned, information on the new treatments available that everybody has to read up on. As mentioned, even if you are a Mo sister, like I'm going to be.